I promised my daughter she'd always be safe at school. I meant it when I said it. But that promise shattered the moment the HOA president's son marched into the cafeteria, laughed, and smashed her wheelchair like it was a toy. They thought they could cover it up, that their little empire of lies and influence would hold. But they forgot about one thing, a video they didn't delete. It was 12:47 p.m. when the call came. I remember the exact time because I was painting a model ship, a destroyer from World War II. Tiny details, steady hands, calm mind, the kind of quiet work I needed after years in the Marines. Then the phone buzzed. School number. That kind of call freezes a parent's blood. "There's been an incident in the cafeteria," the secretary said. "Your daughter's okay, but her wheelchair there was an accident." Accident. Such a clean word. Like it just happened. But I've lived long enough to know that when a 16-year-old girl in a wheelchair gets accidentally hurt in a cafeteria full of kids, something ugly is hiding under that word. My wife, Sandra, and I didn't speak during the drive. We didn't have to. She was already on her phone alerting our son, Henry, active duty Marine, home on leave. I gripped the wheel knuckles, white breathing, and controlled bursts like I'd been trained to do when things were about to explode. We reached the school in 5 minutes. Kids in the hallway parted when they saw us, whispering, wide-eyed. Inside the cafeteria, the scene froze. Trays, scattered milk spilled, and my daughter, my Sam, sat on a bench trying to stay composed. Her hands trembled. The chair next to her was twisted metal. The titanium frame, bent wheel, snapped clean off. 3 boys stood nearby, football jerseys, stupid smirks on their faces. The one in the middle was Chase Lawrence, son of Karen Lawrence, our HOA president, the self-appointed queen of Perry Estates. I knelt beside Sam, ignoring everyone else. "You okay, sweetheart?" I asked. She tried to smile, then whispered, "They pushed it. For fun." For a moment, all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. I wanted to tear that smirk off his face, but I didn't. Discipline. Focus. Protect your kid first. Punish later. Then, the cafeteria doors went silent. My son Henry stepped in full Marine dress blues, the kind they wear at funerals and parades. 6'4" medals, gleaming face, unreadable. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The entire room froze. The bullies looked like they'd seen a ghost. Even the principal paled. A few minutes later, we were sitting in the principal's office, me, Sandra, Sam, Principal Miller, and Karen Lawrence herself. She was already there, perfectly put together, pretending concern. "Danny?" "Sandra," she purred, "what an unfortunate little kerfuffle." Boys will be boys, right. A kerfuffle. That's what she called the destruction of my daughter's legs on wheels. I stared at her until my jaw ached. "Your son laughed while doing it, Karen. That's not a kerfuffle, that's assault." The principal cleared his throat, mumbling about privacy and student rights. Karen offered to cover the repair cost, smiling that weaponized smile. But then Sam, God bless that girl, looked her dead in the eye and said, "It wasn't an accident, Mrs. Lawrence. He told me to watch this before he did it." Karen's eyes went cold. "Memories can be tricky, dear," she said. Then she turned to me, voice dropping low. "Danny Perry, Estates, values harmony. People who disrupt that harmony often find life gets uncomfortable." She slid a notice across the desk, an HOA violation for storing Sam's spare wheelchair on our porch. A threat right in front of my daughter. I leaned forward. "Is that a threat?" "Karen." She just smiled, gathered her purse, and walked out. That's when I knew this wasn't just about a broken chair. It was a declaration of war. At first, I hit back the only way I knew how: petty revenge. Operation Annoyance, I called it. I fired up my old gas-powered leaf blower at 5 a.m. right under her bedroom window. I filed anonymous HOA complaints about her visible satellite dish. I even planted a fake for sale by owner, reason tyrannical HOA sign in her perfect lawn. But Karen struck back harder. A $200 fine for grass too long by a quarter inch. My truck towed for mailbox obstruction. Then a summons for an HOA disciplinary hearing. She was turning me into the villain, building her case to exile me from my own neighborhood. One night I stood on my driveway watching the tow truck haul away my pickup. The anger drained out of me, replaced by something worse, doubt. I started wondering if I was losing it. If maybe I was giving her exactly what she wanted, a crazy ex-Marine neighbor with a temper. For the first time, I thought about giving up. That's when Sandra stepped in. She didn't yell. She didn't comfort me either. She just said, "Come inside." Our dining table looked like a war room. Papers, printouts, sticky notes, screenshots. While you were out making noise, she said, I was gathering ammo. She had everything: student statements, photos of Chase laughing before and after the attack, a public records request for security camera logs, and then the smoking gun and email from Karen to the principal, written 1 hour after the incident. We need to handle this quietly. Let's frame it as an accident before Friday's donor event. It wasn't just a cover-up. It was political damage control. There was money involved, lots of it. Karen was leading the HOA's partnership with Thorne Construction to build a multi-million-dollar high school stadium. The school's biggest donor, Marcus Thorne, couldn't afford scandal. But we were still missing one thing: the full video. The one every kid saw, but no one would share. That's when Sandra pointed to a face in a photo, a terrified boy holding up his phone. His name's Leo Martinez, she said. JV team. Always near Chase, but never laughing. He's our weak link. A few nights later, my nosy neighbor Dave and I were sitting in the dark watching Karen's house through binoculars. Around 10:30, a kid in a hoodie jogged up to her mailbox and dropped something inside. When he turned, the porch light hit his face. It was Leo. My heart sank. He was delivering the video to her. The next morning, Sandra and I argued. She said maybe he's scared. Talk to him first. So we did. Saturday morning, we found him at the park coaching little kids in t-ball. Sam rolled up to him, calm, kind. "You're Leo, right?" "You're good with the kids," she said. He froze. His voice shook. "I didn't know what to do," he stammered. "Chase just did it." Everyone laughed. I froze. Then Mrs. Lawrence told me to delete it or I'd be off the team. I sat beside him. "You can't undo what happened, son, but you can fix what comes next." He hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. "I copied it before I gave her the card," he whispered. I knew it was wrong. That tiny piece of plastic felt heavier than a weapon. It was proof. It was justice. The video was brutal. Chase's voice saying, "Watch this," the shove, the crash, the laughter. But it was also powerful. And Sandra had a plan. "We're not leaking it," she said. "We're going to drop it where she can't spin it at your HOA hearing." The night of the hearing, the community center was packed. Karen glowed in her white power suit, standing beside Marcus Thorne himself. She opened the meeting with fake warmth, then shifted her tone. "Before we move on," she said sweetly, "we must address one resident's repeated pattern of disruptive behavior, Mr. Daniel Grimes." The crowd murmured. I could feel my pulse in my ears, but I waited. When she finished smearing my name, I stood. "I have a question," I said loudly. "For Mr. Thorne. Are you aware that your business partner here is involved in covering up an assault on a disabled child?" Karen's face drained of color. "That's absurd," she snapped. "You have no proof." I smiled. "Actually, Karen, we do." From the back of the room, Henry, no uniform tonight, just plain clothes, gave me a nod and pressed a button. The projector behind Karen flickered. The stadium blueprints vanished. And suddenly the video filled the screen. The sound of laughter, then Chase's voice. "Watch this." Then the shove, the crash, the silence. No one spoke. No one breathed. When it ended, the room was frozen. Marcus Thorne stood slowly, face pale. Karen tried to speak, but only managed a strangled, "You'll regret this." Then the crowd erupted, parents shouting, board members backing away from her. Henry cut the feed. Sandra was already sending the video to the news and the school superintendent. Karen's empire crumbled right there under fluorescent lights and her own reflection on the screen. The next morning, the fallout hit like artillery fire. The school suspended Chase and his friends. The police opened a juvenile case. The principal went on leave. and the HOA board, finally terrified of their queen, voted to remove her unanimously. By the end of the week, her for sale sign was real this time. The roses in her perfect yard started wilting. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. I just stood on my porch watching the movers pack up her kingdom and thought about that promise I made to Sam. I told her she'd be safe. I couldn't stop the pain, but I made sure the people who caused it couldn't hide behind their titles, their bylaws, or their power ever again. Because power without truth is nothing, and sometimes the only way to protect your family is to make the truth louder than their lies.